Hi, I'm Kevin Hill, and today we're going to do a beautiful painting filled with sunlight. We're going to have some birch trees, actually a lot of birch trees in it, and we'll have some winter, we'll have a little snow there in the foreground. Should be a lot of fun. And if you're looking forward to seeing this and you'd like to see more, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more painting videos. All right, let's get started. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take our white, tiniest touch of blue. Just like that, super, super light blue. We'll just softly float that across. So this exact sky that you see me painting here is actually done in a full-length lesson. So if you want to see every brush stroke and, I'll give you as many tips as I can think, go ahead and check out our brand new lesson, Technique Series Clouds 2. You have to be very subtle with your colors. And it's not always easy to be subtle, is it? Now I'm going to grab a 1-inch brush here. And we are going to mix up a nice light yellow. So obviously just white and yellow. Set my brush right down, do a couple overlapping X's. It's kind of a nice little hot dog banana shape thing. You don't want a flat area. You got a little movement. I'm using overlapping crisscross strokes there. Let me go right up in here. This is more red, remember? So I can put that right here. All right, I'm gonna stand kind of in front because I've got that glare that I always have. I think that looks pretty good. I can live with that. A little more blending. Maybe right here, I'll get just a little gold color going. There's gonna be a red cloud there, which I kind of forgot to paint, which I should paint in right now. Good thing we have our rusty red still sitting here. There. We actually will put a touch of purple in there, maybe, if it needs it. Okay, let's test it. Ooh, that's not bad. That's kind of what I was looking for. Look at that. And let me show you how I know. You see how it's just several, maybe 3 or 4 shades darker than the background. In the background there is purple. You can still see it. It still shows up, so I like it. I'm going right into my yellow, which of course will just create a brown or a gray, depending on your yellow and your purple. Well, that's nice. Of course, you don't want to cover all of it up, otherwise what was the point? There's another little cloud spot there. Oh yeah. See how I'm just setting my filbert brush down and I'm rolling it? This is a good way to get those softer edges. See, you can just let pressure off and let it float away like that. Now, black. We're gonna take some black and go right into that color. A little more blue and red, otherwise you'll just lose the purple effect altogether. Blue, red, and black. Boy, is that dark enough for you? I'm gonna work this up in this area like this. Oh yeah, create that darkness. Good. Good. Just touches, that'll look better later. I hope. Yeah, it will. A little red. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and a little blue and black. Kind of go back to that one. So I kind of brought back some of my, little bit of my warmth because I'm going up in here and I don't want to have any chance of making green. See how I slowly roll that in? Leaving all these pockets of dark and light. Those will be blended out and they'll look amazing. This is way too harsh down here. Now, if you wanted to do this with a filbert brush exclusively, you would do a lot more subtle scrubbing. That looks decent. All right, I can be happy with that, I think. I like those soft, color changes. I like the darkness in there. It's a little harsh right there. Okay, now again, you have to have a clean brush, right? I'm gonna set my brush down like this. Starting kind of with the back of the brush. I was about to do this. I thought, no, let's go back because you get a softer line. I'm going to stand straight on. Otherwise, I will not have a good effect. I'll have a wiggly line or something sloped the wrong way. I'm going to start kind of here, and I'm going to just get my brush moving, my hand moving, and gently, very lightly pulling it straight down. By straight, I mean straight line, not, toward the floor. They can be up or down, doesn't matter. But that's kind of pretty. Yeah, it doesn't look like a laser beam, which is good. So much of the time, those sun rays end up looking like laser beams. I'm gonna hold my brush flat this time and bring out some thicker, just light. Now you have a point, and they all go out from that point. Now using this beautiful orangey tone, I'm gonna sculpt in carefully some little, kind of some sunlit, backlit tree, well, not really backlit, tree-lined mountains back here. Not too tall. Just so you know, the inspiration for this kind of landscape area is the Virginia area. And just in my experience looking at photos online, I noticed a lot of these rolling hills covered in trees. So that's kind of what we're doing now. These could be dormant trees, and really the only reason it looks, it would look like trees is just by pulling up. And you get these little fuzzy tops, and that's all you need. That could be the limbs, being illuminated by the sun. So we'll do a lot of this. Not too much tapping, mostly pulling to get that beautiful softness. I almost think that's too orange though. So I'll play around with the colors obviously quite a lot. It's kind of just something you got to play with. Now I'm going to go ahead and just underpaint this area down here. This is dry, so it'll take a little bit of work to scrub this in. Once we're done underpainting, this is not something I normally do. Normally I do my sketch, but here's the thing. There are so many trees, just the whole painting is trees, that I don't really think it's necessary to sketch. There's not much of a landscape, more just drifts of snow with the emphasis on the trees. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it on and wipe it off, and whatever stays on the canvas, that stain, will be pretty much what we roll with as our underpainting for this one today. Really straightforward, and I think it'll help us. That way we don't have to go back and repair around the trees as much as I usually have to. I'm pretty much the worst when it comes to that, aren't I? All right, the other thing I want to do is come right up here to our little distant hills and start throwing just a touch of softness. I wouldn't necessarily call this a lot of mist. I don't want it to be super misty, but some softness just to link the background with the foreground, give us a place to raise up our evergreen trees and some birch trees. Now using this kind of warm purple tone with just a little umber, it's not a lot, but a little in there, I am going to start picking out some mid-ground evergreens. Nothing too crazy yet, but definitely coming forward. Here's the key. We're going to do a lot in this painting, a lot of layers, and that's going to just create so much interest. It's going to be amazing, but you've got to start slowly and build up these layers very subtly. Not so much slowly, you don't have to paint slow, but you got to be subtle with your color changes. One will just be a slight bit darker than the next. That's kind of what I mean. It's pretty subtle. You almost can't see it. Almost a little too subtle there, but And it's okay to, let's go a little darker so we can see it. It's okay to, have a couple of evergreens on the edge of these tree lines. Tree lines, mountains, hills. There. See that? Kind of create that visual interest. A little dark against the dark is kind of cool there, huh? Put a little dark under the light. There's your contrast right there. Not bad, maybe darken these trees. So anyway, we'll just play around kind of with these trees, getting them just the way we want them. Creating some detail. You can hold your brush flat and you get automatic detail. See that? Now I'm going to go ahead and begin to work in some trees here, some larger trees. These are still evergreens, haven't really gotten around to painting much else yet, but they're really going to be nice and kind of create a bit of a backdrop to this painting. They're not super important, so I'll do them quickly. How's that? Just tossing them in. I won't hopefully have to spend too much time doing evergreens today. They're more just a suggestion of something going on in the background. And there's just a million different ways to paint an evergreen. This is just kind of a quick, almost impressionistic feel. See that? And I think that works really well for mid-ground trees, that kind of technique there. So we will keep painting these little evergreens. I think way over here, I'd love to see, especially, maybe just bouncing all around today, aren't we? Let's go ahead and cut that cloud right there, push it right back with a tree. There, not too much paint in the background. Plus these colors all kind of go together and they help to soften. So that's nice. So I don't want them harsh at all. A little warmer perhaps, just a little more of our golden tones or red tones, just to warm them up. This is a sunset after all. Thankfully we've got a lot of blue so we can have fun with blue shadows. But that way we have more options. But this is nice to get some warmth in here. Now, as you can see, I spent just a few minutes, well, really was it a few minutes at the most, sketching in with using some white paint, just a little bit of the lay of the land. Now I am using a nice soft, kind of a bluish, purpley color. There's a little red in here, but it's definitely to the blue side, and that helps to kind of bring out some of those beautiful blues up in there. Very important that you link your painting together with color. If you don't use that color, it's just not going to look right. Gotta have it all linked together with color. There. Anyway, we'll kind of bring in a shadow or two in the snow field. Of course, I've got a nice underpainting of color, you know, lots of color. We want to have some of that show through, and then we'll definitely enhance that when we go to do our highlights. There's some yellow there, so we don't want green. I'm going to be slightly careful about that. Not bad. All right, just continue to kind of work on this. Maybe a little more of a red. There, kind of make some purple shadows as well. Just creating these little snow drifts. Honestly, it's pretty subtle. Now that's one snow drift. I think that maybe we're going to have some large shadows cast kind of along this area, so I won't put them in yet. I want to wait for my trees. Cool. Maybe just a little more snow. Kind of, actually, let's just create some mist back here. See that? We can use that as a backdrop to place something else, like a, you know, tree or whatever. Scrub it in. Even with a filbert brush, we've only got a tiny dusting of paint on our canvas today. Here's my color, by the way. So it doesn't require a whole lot of, you know, doesn't require a lot of being careful. You're not going to get much mud until you get a few more layers on. I just love these colors, though. I could just use these colors all the time. They're so pretty. Good. That's enough. Actually, a little more red here. Now we're going to go ahead and use the 3/4 brush to sculpt in a lot of birch trees. You see, I just finished up taking my time, really, and doing some larger ones. I'm going to maybe darken them while I'm here talking about them. It's not a bad idea to kind of come in with a light color that could be easily blended away, you know, and then come back and darken them up. Of course, we're using purple as our shadow tone, and we'll pull our whites and our yellows around and create all that beautiful detail in there. Now, in this painting today, I'm going to do my birch trees, at least some of them, in kind of groups of 3. I'm going to break the rule a little bit just for the sake of the painting, but for the most part, groups of 3. Maybe there's another there. There. The reason is that's the way they naturally grow for the most part. Let's see, you can really just go crazy adding these trees in. So we'll just kind of work up and kind of get a little birch forest going. Maybe a nice taller one right there. Cool. We can definitely, and probably should, add some extra little evergreens mixed in. But this is not a bad start. There, maybe just mush in some color. We'll work on this more. Just establishing our basic painting at this point. Now with our detail round brush, I'm going to very carefully drop in, highlight on the left-hand side, that's looking good, of our little birch trees. You go just a little, and of course you're spinning the brush to feed clean paint toward the end. That's definitely important. Isn't that nice though? Look at that. Yeah, all the way down to the bottom. That looks decent. You'll see I've already warmed up our birch trees. They're purple, orange, now they have yellow. The only color you probably won't see in here is white because of course our sunset. There, and I'm gonna just carefully work these back, just blending a little bit with this brush. I don't want to go crazy, but I also do want to create some interesting texture. Oh, we might have just a little pure white. We got to show a little snow, a little birch tree color, just a little pure white here and there, but not as much as normal because of the sunset. Oh yeah, that's looking decent. I might just work on one tree at a time, you know, get this whole highlight step sort of finished and move on. You'll notice I'm glopping it up because nothing is going over these trees. So we can glop it right up. We don't even have leaves because it's winter. Nice. Every once in a while, maybe dry your brush off, and well, wipe it off rather, and smooth the back away. Nice. You can of course do the classic pull to the right sweep to kind of give it a little extra dimension. Now I'm just finishing up, kind of adding on some snow to these little evergreen trees. Not all of them, but just most of them. Maybe a little bit in some of the background areas. Yeah, that looks decent. So that just helps to make that look a little more detailed. Probably put a little highlight, not a lot, maybe just a little. Okay, now we need to figure out, before we get too far here, you'll notice I actually established some shadows there earlier, but let's go ahead and try to get us a little highlight in this area. Now there's very, very little paint down, which is great. That should help us, but I still may need to stop and wipe the canvas. I did wipe the canvas in the foreground, so that's important to note. And I didn't in the background just because I didn't think I had as much paint. It looks like we're doing okay. There's a little bit of blending, but yeah, we're painting in oils. Of course, there's going to be a little blending, right? I don't see any mud yet. There, maybe just sneak a little. That's pretty. Really want to establish that sunlight. And of course, I'm going to cover my shadows. I kind of realized that when I put them in. I just wanted to see what they were going to look like. But there we go. Ooh, starting to get a little mud. So we'll just carefully work around, maybe add a little red. We don't need that much yellow anyways. There. And just sort of play around with this highlight. See that? Just creating these valleys and ridges and all this sort of stuff that goes on here. Definitely a little highlight back in that area. That creates a little field of snow way, 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 way in the background. Pretty cool, huh? Divided by a little, I don't know, layer of brush or a little spot where it goes down. Fairly soft in the background. I've sort of shifted my attention down here to these reflections, so I want to get those in. There, that looks decent, doesn't it? Just a quick pull down is really all it requires. You can shape your water. It's actually a little easier, honestly, in a winter painting to shape your water. I don't know, for some reason the colors just sort of mush together. And you can really, really just quickly get that water worked out to the right shape. All right, that looks pretty decent though, doesn't it? Maybe just shrink that one back a tiny bit. That was a little big, but we can always play around with it till we get it. All right, now we'll set that aside for just a second. Let's put a highlight kind of right in the middle of our little lake. You see in my underpainting, I indicated a little highlight. This will make it look really nice, kind of like frozen water, which is, of course, the goal. Go up from the bottom too. Make sure you get plenty of this. Here's my palette, by the way, my really, really messy palette. Don't have much space to work. Almost time to stop and wipe it off, I guess. That looks good. Right there. Wipe my brush out. And then, very quickly and very carefully, don't want to overdo, just a couple swipes, we will soften and get a nice little effect. Now with some brown and black on our detail brush, it's time to really, I don't know, make these exciting. So right here, I'm going to start and add these little dots, the birch tree dots. Not too many, you don't want to go absolutely crazy, but enough that they look really cool. Of course, in just a few minutes here, we'll be pulling out our limbs. That'll make them look even more like birch trees. Nice. Don't go crazy, you know, you can always step back, take a good look at it, make sure everything's going the way you want it to. Then you can come back and do some more. And they're not all the same color or size or shape. We'll definitely be changing things up, you know, here and there. Might warm them up, add a brown one here and there, just to change them so they're not all exactly the same. Even throw some red in it. That's okay. There, see that? Cool. Now I'm placing the blue kind of in and around some of these little areas in the birch trees on the right hand side. Not totally, but just in areas, because I want some of the original colors to show through. It looks good. I went ahead and stopped what I was doing. I've been doing these little dark spots, of course, but I stopped and just thought I'd do some blue, kind of working back and forth. I wouldn't recommend doing the blue, you know, before the darks, because it's nice to be able to pop some of those darks back, kind of push them back a little, soften some if you overdo. So it's really nice to have that as an option. I'm kind of working them back and forth. So that's the plan. See, I'm going right back to the darks now, and I'm gonna work on this tree. They don't take too long, but they definitely take a little concentration, don't they? Just kind of get the patterns right, get the shapes going good. And definitely no symmetrical patterns in here. Now this may seem a little bit insignificant, but I'm adding a really kind of a dark and vibrant blue, just a sliver of it right along some of these close-up birch trees. Not much, just some, maybe 30% of the tree, something like that, to give you an idea. What this is doing is it's tying in with that bright blue up in the sky. And it's really giving it that extra pop of color and detail. It makes that other edge, the right-hand edge, look round. Nice, I love it. I love it. I don't want to overdo because it'll lose its effectiveness if you overdo it. So I'll probably stop myself right here. Definitely some on this tree. And also, just here and there on these larger little black spots, you can just touch in some of the blue to cover. Just soften them up a little. Now, one of the last things that we're gonna do up here is our liner brush work, of course. I've got my liner brush and I've got it not black, it's just kind of a dark gray, a warm gray. I put some red in it. And I'm just gonna drop in these beautiful birch tree limbs. And of course, on your birch trees, they sort of extend out a little flatter than other trees. So we'll keep that in mind, but we'll still be kind of artistic with it, you know. Standard kind of birch tree stuff. It's kind of fun, isn't it? Now there's no leaves to cover your mistakes, you know, so gotta be a little careful. A little slower, maybe. Not quite so free. So anyway, we'll just do a few, kind of step back, evaluate. You don't want to overdo. It's 3 seconds to put one in and about 5 minutes on a good day to take one out. There. Of course, we can extend the top of your trees here a little. There. Make sure you get those nice fine points. Now I'm thinking that a little bit of dry winter grass kind of sticking out of the snow would be a really good way to sort of wrap it up. This is, you know, just one of those final details that can make a big difference. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes putting a few blades of grass in. There. Maybe, you know what we ought to do? We ought to get some lighter yellowy ones. Maybe a little yellow ochre. Let's see what that does. Yeah, I like that. Kind of touch of that gold, not too much down there, maybe a little more over here, to kind of just bring the whole painting together, you know? So we have colors repeated all over the place. I love these golden colors. They really warm it up. All right, well, I think we're done. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Don't forget to check out our website, DVDs, and brush line. Thanks for watching.